How old do you think it is?
50 years.
50 years, okay. I like all these guesses. Are there any more? You want the answer straight out of the guidebook? Geologists tell us that we have no idea how old these things are. There are sometimes rings inside of these, but they don't relate to years. It's really about how much water is coming through, how much rock is dissolved in that water, and how quickly it evaporates off the side. That's where the formation really takes place. Now, we do have an average growth rate that we've come to. We think these grow about a coat of paint every 100 years. So very, very, very slowly. Now, this is dripstone, dripping, but we got some coming out of the cracks around there. Big waterfall looking things. Looks like it's flowing out of there, doesn't it? What would you call that? If this is dripstone, that's flowstone. All right, the next stop, I'm going to talk about how we came to that number. It's long range of growth, but showcase have a little extra benefit for figuring out this kind of thing. Often there are artificial structures like concrete floors and metal railings that if a little baby formation starts on there, you know exactly how old that one is. So from there you can work and get an idea what the growth rate is in the cave you're in, but they're all different. They're all different. Formation that goes from the ground to the ceiling in the cave. And isn't this the most perfect column you've ever seen in your life? They don't grow them like that everywhere, guys. But that's our artificial structure. And it was a big mistake. This is a well pipe that came down here in 1941, 85 years ago. So there is a lot of growth on it, but really about a coat of paint at the top and a little bit more at the bottom. The mistake was the math. They did math like I did, because this was supposed to be 10 feet on the back side of the wall. But there it is in the cave, and from there it sinks down another 50 feet to our river sanctuary, which is home to some really cool cave animals that don't even have eyes that work. They've never seen anything like them. They don't know about it. There's that one, and up along the top there are some special stalactites. When they run down an angled roof like that, well, they turn into cave draperies, like right above, right ahead of us there. Cave curtains or draperies. At that point, there's 92 feet of rock above that point. So up on the surface, that pipe comes out, and it doesn't suck water out of the ground today, because that river sanctuary belongs, it's dry most of the year. Just a little creek bed. Except for some permanent pools that hold those rare animals. Now, you know, it was 1862 when the cave was discovered. And the real adventurer that found this place, what do you think he saw when he first got inside? Any guesses? A bear? He saw nothing. Nothing at all. He couldn't even see the paw in front of his face. We're going to talk about that discovery at the next stop, and turn on all the lights on you guys. But he also liked to do a little hunting too, and add some more meat to the table. He had a helper with that named Juno. That's his bloodhound dog that went hunting with him. Did you guys see a statue of Juno up at the top of the hill?
Yeah.
He's the real star around here. Now Juno, when he came in the cave, he had chased a rabbit or a squirrel or something through the natural opening in the bluff. That's actually where we'll leave the cave, and you'll see where that happened. But when he got inside, total darkness. Y'all ready for me to turn the lights out on? Here we go. Not much light. There's a little bit in here, but we get that these days. But here's how much light John had to come rescue the dog with. Just a candle's worth, and yeah, he could hear him whimpering behind the wall, so he knew he had to rescue him. Came in, and this is probably enough to get the dog to come to him. But not very good for doing tours. I mean, we got water dripping from the ceiling everywhere. Put that right out. So, even in the very early years, John did let a few people go through the cave. He'd just send them in with a candle and a prayer and hope they came out. But in 1887, everything changed around here when we got the brand new Edison light bulbs. Okay, these are a little bit newer. We got these at Home Depot. But they look a lot like that, and they're strung along the middle of the path, just like they were for a long, long time, from 1887 until 1970. We started doing Jeep tours in 1960. Now this is nice, but it kind of makes everything look like a big pile of mud, doesn't it? They're pretty. But in 1970, we got a hold of a guy that was famous for doing stage productions, had a little more artistic lighting effects, and he said, take advantage of the shapes and colors of these things, and light them from the bottom, and that is what we have today. And we'll never have to move these, they're right where they need to be. So, these screws so slow. There are some formations in this room that are different from other spots in the cave. There's some knobby stuff all over the walls there, and over here too. That's called cave popcorn. And it's very, very crunchy, guys. I totally recommend the stuff in the gift shop instead. But I will say that some formations have been named after food, because the explorers were so hungry by the time we got out here. Next up, we'll get into one of the more dramatic sections of how caves are formed. Sinkholes.
He's pushing right
That's how it looks most of the year. Water comes into that passage below us from a sinkhole about a mile from here over by the Springfield airport called Smalley's Pit. But the whole passage is around 3 miles because of the way it winds around. And those animals, they're awesome. They're just backed in through up underneath there. If you were to get down there and crawl maybe an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes on your belly through a space about yay tall, you'd get to where those animals live. Anybody up for that? Most are not, and in fact we only let scientists down there to count them now. But they are in permanent pools that protect them year round, and those animals are awesome. talking about the Ozark cavefish, endangered species, and grotto salamanders, and bristly crawdads that are solid white and little guys. They're back there, but there's something else. Out that way, that passage leads to Indian Spring, which is a spot you can see along our canyon trail. Named Indian Spring because there were some artifacts found around there, pieces where it was clear that they had been working on arrowheads and tools. But no such evidence has ever been found inside the cave. So they were very near. They just never found the hole in the ground that Juno found. Now, a lot of people ask about bats. You know, you guys interested in bats?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you thinking we might drive under a couple 100,000 of them on the ceiling?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do that, but we don't have those kinds of bats. Our bats live by themselves, one at a time, little guys with a body about the size of your thumb, teeny tiny pipistrelle bats. If they stretch out their wings, they're just little guys about yay big flapping around, one at a time, like I said. I always have my eyes open, but there's only about 15, 20 that call this cave home. So I'll try to show you. It's a little tricky. But up here at this next stop, we're going to learn a little more about the process that formed this hole and that one we just drove over. Those are sinkholes, and the rocks had to collapse underneath them to open up this space. It's the same way they form on the surface. Rocks collapse and holes open up. And let's learn a little bit more about that at the next stop from a real spelunker. You ever heard about a map of these caves? That's a big job in the Ozarks. Back in time a little bit. Remember it was 1862 when Juno found the cave? Well, John asked him to keep that a secret. There was something kind of going on at the time. They wanted to keep it under wraps. And you know, Juno was a good dog. He kept that secret the whole time. He never told a soul. But 5 years later, the cave was explored by the Springfield Athletic Club. And John was a little surprised by who showed up on his doorstep. Turned out to be 12 young ladies between the ages of 13 and 19, which might be unusual in some places, even in 1862. But down here we grow up pretty tough, so that's not unusual. These girls had been in dozens of caves already, and they were pretty professional about it. They just happened to be the first ones to map this place. And along with that, they left us a little historical graffiti on the wall where they all signed their names. And that's going to be our next stop. I'll show you where they wrote their names in a combination of charcoal and lamp oil that ought to last forever. Any questions before we backtrack and get to that spot? No questions? All right, here we go. Show already happened down here. That's what this stage was for. Built in 1960. Yeah, there were big names on the stage like Ray Price and Buck Owens. This was one of the first radio shows to be broadcast nationwide. So they would tape it here in the cave and take the tape into town to KGBX and send it out. The old stage show lights are still on the ceiling today. Now the house band for that show was a local family, a very musical family. They went down to Branson and started the first show on the strip. That was the Presleys. They're still down there today. But I want you to go back in time from there, on back to the Roaring Twenties. In the 1920s, they had outlawed alcohol in the country. That was not very popular around here, I bet, because a lot of people made their living with moonshine every night. So, now, this very room was an illegal nightclub called Speakeasy. And they had the dancing and gambling and all the good stuff. The moonshine's still up on the hill. And that went on until, well, two bootleggers got in a big fight outside the front door. One of them ended up dead on the ground. Everybody knew it was the end of the speakeasy. Luckily, it was a pretty short walk. They just had to come back in here and tell them. you, Don, did you know, decided to wait 5 years before anybody? Why do you think that was? What was going on at the time? It was a civil war. It was, not very civil, but it was going pretty heavy around here. In fact, the year before, the first battle west of Mississippi took place at Harrison's Creek, in the southwest corner of town. Yeah, there were Union and Confederate armies all around this place. And they would love to get a hold of the cave. Anybody know why? That would be great. Yep, lots of storage space in here too. You could house a lot of soldiers inside the cave. But really it's about something that's found in the soils of some caves. Now we talked briefly about wishing we could drive under 100,000 bats on the ceiling. What if in those caves with big populations of bats, what would you find on the ground underneath them? Poop. Big pile of bat poop, that's right. Now, that's where the magic happens because that poop or guano is full of potassium nitrate, the explosive part of gunpowder. And I've got a short demonstration on how that is. Just imagine. Sulfur. So happy that didn't happen. You've already been in this room before. You guys know that? Yep, they took your picture just on the other side of this giant pile of rocks. In fact, during Prohibition times, they would have walked right across the top of there at first. That means everybody that came in before that had to climb over that too. Breakdown, here it is. If you look right up in there, you'll see a natural dome, which is real stable now. But it might have just come down with the rest of this one thing. And that point was a long, long time ago. I can say that with certainty because, well, they're all grown together by these formations. In fact, all those gaps in there are filled up with that calcite dripping from the ceiling. A lot of people think it must have been an earthquake. The last big earthquake around here was in 1811. the Pneumatic quake. And these are way older than that, aren't they? Remember our formula for growth? About a coat of paint every 100 years? Yeah, these have been growing a lot longer than that. I do like to show this one off. It is the sparkliest one in here. Tiny, tiny crystals. In fact, calcite is just microscopic crystals. Beautiful stuff. A lot of people do think about the ceiling collapsing today in a room like this. I really wouldn't. Still got this column holding everything up over here. I mean, that can set your mind at ease for sure. Oh, that is a new crack there in the middle. I need to tell Boss about that. Guys, I joke, but this is a really stable structure, you know. The Romans learned how to make domes from being in caves, and that's the kind of thing they would have been looking at right there, vaulted ceiling. Up here at the next stop, we'll be in a room that many consider to be the most beautiful part of the cave. There are some really big formations in here, and the highest number of stalactites in the whole place, too. Where Juno ended up, guys. He probably wouldn't have come very far from getting in here and realizing he couldn't see a thing. So he was in here waiting on John. This is where the girls came through and first room that they would have explored. And they probably did that with a contraption like I've got in my hand, which is really just an old coffee can with a candle inside and a handle to keep from burning your hand. But you put all those things together and you come up with a pretty good hillbilly flashlight. Real decent. I can see you guys just fine. I'd even do a tour like this. This would be a lot of fun to me. And this was probably invented by some miners back in the 1800s, but many historians consider this to be the very first incandescent light. Can you hear me doing a jig over here? It gets a little worse too, because years after that, they figured they could turn it into a fluorescent light. Yeah. You know, since we're in this spot, I do want to show you what it must have looked like when those girls came through here. With just such a light. Step down into that little spot next to you. Up in here from the tunnel they came through. I was thinking about this. What they must have said, the ladies back in the 1800s probably said stuff like, "Oh my word." Or the rowdier ones, and there were some, probably said stuff like, "Woo, doggies, would you look at them?" Now I tell you what though, they never really got to see it the way we enjoy it. Here's why we call this the Hall of Giants. Pretty good size, right? These are the twins. That's Grandpa up at the top of the hill. They're giving any rest. Well, they're growing faster. Probably a big factor in that is that there's only about 25 feet of rock above your head. Now, I've been so happy not to hear any hollering when I go concerning, that head. I don't like head injuries on tours. Make sure you know. But you guys here on the driver's side, you've been getting it, and you're about to get it a little worse. This passage we go through is the lowest we have to travel through. Clears my dash by about 2 inches. You guys over here might want to introduce yourselves to the neighbors over there before we go. I'll shine my light on it, get a little through this, move out outside, and we'll see that natural light.
Okay, come here. Welcome to the Tall People Are Safe side. Yeah, okay. Oh my goodness.
This is what I said when I tried to go around the block because they're opening an iron road.
On again. It's my 3rd time getting trapped on. Make that like my 4th or 5th time apparently.
There's little ones sticking out from the wall too. Watch out for the headstone.
Oh.
The opening we're about to go through was cleared out during Prohibition times. They wanted to have dancing down here, but it's a bigger hole to get the piano in. Couple more spots to duck as we go out to the cave. Here's the driver's side, then you guys will get some over there on the other.
And I just got the signal back. Oh. Huh, warm. Now it's hot. This is great. Is it that? Is it that opening? I'm not entirely sure.
Find it over there? Nope, it's over here. You probably already found it. Just a little hole back up in there is where Juno went in, and the way this is described, I bet you there was a hole dug by a groundhog or some whatever critter it was down to the hole. So it was totally hidden by brush and rock and dirt. Yeah, and that's where Juno made his fantastic discovery. Yeah. Well, and those girls, they mapped the place, but we looked and looked for pictures of them, and we never found anything except a little blurb in the Springfield News Leader. Strangely, though, I did find these pictures of the most recent expedition into the cave. That's you guys. So if you had one of those folders with the